In the UK, forklifts account for around half of the number of materials handling equipment out there, but 3/4 of the accidents involving industrial vehicles. Around 1,500 accidents happen every year with the forklift truck, and out of those, sadly 27 typically are fatalities. There are three main kinds of accidents that a forklift truck is involved in. One would be tipping. It's very dangerous for the operator, and it's when the load is exceeded, the capacity of the truck is exceeded, and the truck falls over. Another type of accident is where a pedestrian is hit, and these are pretty common and also the biggest cause of fatalities amongst pedestrians. And the third type of accident is where a load is lost and strikes a pedestrian.
Hey, Craig the forklift guy here. Forklifts are the perfect machines for carrying palletized loads. It's a counterbalance system, which basically means that the weight of the load at the front is counterbalanced by the weight of the forklift at the back. If the load is unitary, roughly 1 meter by 1 meter, the forklift is ideal for this job. Most loads are designed to carry within the width of the forklift. So if the forklift fits down an aisle, the load will fit down an aisle. So what we have here, this is the perfect machine for the perfect job. Now, it has really good visibility at the front of this machine. I've got excellent visibility through the front. I can see the load just by looking directly in front of myself. There's different attachments that you can put on the machine which can affect that visibility. Things like rotators and clamps and things like that. But for the main part, this is a really good method for carrying these sorts of loads. So that's if the load is unitary, the forklift is perfect for the job. But if your load overhangs the pallet, then you've got a bit more of a challenge ahead of you. So when you pick up a load like this, it's a lot wider than the forklift, then you need to start looking at both widths of the load or both ends of the load while you're turning. So your head's constantly going from side to side, and when you're trying to get that load through a narrow doorway, it becomes a real challenge. Now the temptation here is to try and elevate that load. No, it's just not going to fit. The temptation here is to try and elevate that load and get it over the top. But driving with a load elevated like that is very, very risky. This is when most tip overs occur, driving with a load at height. The problem is that even an experienced operator can be lulled into a false sense of security. If you're not seat belted in, and if that forklift starts to tip over, you think you have an opportunity to bail out. But that window of opportunity closes very, very fast. That as the forklift starts to tip, the overhead guard speed starts to speed right up, and that ground comes up at you very, very fast. We call this in the trade the mousetrap effect. Despite the obvious risks, people continue to use forklifts for moving these long loads, when really they should be using a side loader. Side loaders provide the safest way to handle long loads. The side loader bed provides a secure location for long loads to rest while being moved. With a load secure, travelling long distances or through narrow doorways and aisles is simple. Side loader operators are far less likely to travel with a load raised high, as the operator is raised and forwards facing with visibility all around. The unobstructed view therefore improves safety, whilst loading lengthways increases storage density and productivity.
side loaders like the ones being built here in the Bauman factory here in Italy are designed to carry a long load. A long load would be 3 times wider than a forklift, so maybe 3.5 meters in a standard forklift's case. But our trucks go 4 or 5 meters and upwards in length, so they're capable of carrying something much longer. The reason why it's unsafe is because a counterbalance truck is not designed to carry a long load, it's designed to carry a pallet. And anything that's longer that requires the operator to look in 3 positions almost at once. To overcome an obstruction, if it's not possible to carry a long load with a forklift truck, often the operator will raise that load. Raising the load above head height would make it particularly dangerous and more likely that the truck would tip. With a side loader, the long load is carried along the length of the chassis and the risk of tipping is much less. A forklift truck, when it's carrying a long load, is likely to lose the load before it actually tips. That's dangerous for pedestrians. A side loader is designed to carry the long load along the bed of the chassis, meaning that it's securely in place, and that's without our automatic deck leveling, which will keep that load secure even when travelling over uneven ground.
So the main difference you'll find with the side loader, the first thing that drivers notice is they're obviously sat to one side of the machine rather than in the centre as you normally are with a counterbalance truck. And obviously your mast is off to the side, hence the term side loader. So the idea of a side loader is for you to pick your load from the side, place to your deck, and then you've got clear visibility and safety for travelling wherever you're taking the load to. So for instance, we turn the truck on, we're here ready to pick a load. The mast's fully retracted and we can see, so I can see the back deck of the machine, I can see the fork tips clearly. I can raise my forks to the height of the load, so we'll imitate that we're at a lorry bed. We reach out of the mast and again I'm looking at the tip of my fork to the load. We've got the ability to tilt the machine, to pick the load or enter the fork into the load as we enter. We then raise the load, retract back to the bed, we drop the load to the bed, safe and secure, level the truck, and then we're ready to go.
Here we have the Bowman GS100, which is a 22,000 pound Bauman side loader operating at Solid Steel in Welland, Ontario. The truck's been in operation since 2021 and it's done over 1,000 hours of use. It handles 40 foot and 60 foot structural steel I-beams of all different shapes and profiles in a large acreage yard. The benefits of having a side loader in this application is that the yard is large acreage or high acreage, it's around 5 acres. Steel is moved quickly and safely, unlike a conventional piece of equipment where you'd be travelling extremely slow due to the potholes and the ground conditions. So the way that you're sat in the Bowman GS100 is you're quite high up, you're elevated, we're in a full suspension seat with 360 degrees visibility all around. That allows you to have a good overview of the yard, where you're going and what you can see. The load is positioned to the side of me, it's on the deck, safe, so I can travel as fast as possible. That allows me to remain efficient from moving steel from point A to point B. Some of the challenges that we have here is the yard is quite uneven. It's got soft ground and hard ground, it's got potholes. The large acreage site requires long travel distances at high speeds to remain efficient, regardless of the terrain conditions. compared that to a conventional counterbalance truck where the load is in front of you, rested across the forks, which in the ground conditions here at this yard would have an unstable load in the potholes, which is a safety concern, and it restricts the efficiencies of the operation.
6 or 7 years ago, 70% of our trucks would have been engine trucks like this one. Today, 80–90% are electric, like the one behind me. The advantages of the electric trucks are quieter, cheaper to run, and more environmentally friendly. There's less vibration. It means the operator is less fatigued at the end of a long shift, which hopefully means there's less chance of a mistake. But because they are quiet, we have to be aware of pedestrians. Some of the things that we can do to mitigate that are we add reverse alarms and forward alarms. We have zonal safety lighting, which can draw a box around the truck to show the safe area. We can have blue LED spotlights to alert a pedestrian to an oncoming truck. But we can also have pedestrian awareness cameras, which will spot an object, it will determine whether or not it's a person, and it will alert the operator in the cab if it senses that there's a pedestrian nearby. So there are a lot of options to mitigate the fact that the electric is quiet, and there are a lot of good reasons to choose an electric over a diesel truck like this.
So on this particular truck, we have the pedestrian alert camera. As you can see here, it's to the reverse of the truck. Obviously there are reversing cameras on many trucks, but this is quite unique in how it works. If this gentleman here, if he just walks behind the truck for me, if you don't mind, as you can see, as a pedestrian walks around the rear of the truck, you will get a box around the guy, picking him up, and obviously beeping the cab to say that there's somebody there. This will only pick pedestrians up if it's a generic piece of steel or a bin or something like that, then it won't be picked up. It will just pick up the pedestrian and obviously give the operator an audible alert. Obviously the main benefit is some people can sometimes maybe get a little bit complacent with a standard rear camera. They won't use it how they should. If you're driving, you're in reverse and you're not maybe taking as much notice as you should be, the audible alert will obviously tell you that there's somebody there, which is obviously a massive advantage over the standard camera. So where we are today at Merrenbrook, they manufacture the roof trusses and obviously timber flooring. They use the Bauman Sideloader to move the products from cantilever racking, the raw products, and they move it from the cantilever racking or from floor level, and they transport it round to the manufacturing facility. Where obviously they make the roof trusses. The roof trusses are then wheeled out and then they're loaded for delivery to the end user. There are a few challenges at Merrenbrook. They're in the middle of a green belt. They're at their limit with land usage, so the aisles need to be as small as they possibly can. They need to maximise their storage space, which they do with the cantilever racking, hence the use of side loaders. There's no machine really on the market that could operate on this flooring. It's a good floor, but there are some uneven parts. With the Bauman, it offers like a self-levelling deck. It will compensate for uneven ground by keeping the deck as level as it can using the tilt rams. So obviously the Bauman lends itself to this kind of yard and this kind of application. There are a few slopes around this yard. When they transition from the upper yard to the lower yard to operate and move the product that they're moving between the racking and the manufacturing facility. On this particular ELX, we've introduced the X Plus series. Now what that gives, with the 1200 bed and the 1200 forks, We actually get an extension away from the bed of 1250 without an extension on the fork length. Now that obviously helps when loading and unloading vehicle beds with the 2.4 metre Arctic trailers. But what it also means is when they're in the racks, they don't have to get quite as close to the cantilever racking arms to reach out and take the timber packs off, which obviously will reduce damage over long term, both to the racking and maybe to the truck. With the electric range of trucks, it's a lot better for the environment, it's a lot better for the operator to be sat there, he's not got the drone of the engine behind him. Here at Merrenbrook, they obviously ran diesel trucks up until about 18 months ago. With the cost of the white diesel, the running cost of the electric is significantly lower. To run a Bauman ELX would cost around, depending on the kilowatt per hour, around £2 per hour tops. The equivalent 5-ton diesel, with today's engines and technology, they'll be using around 4 litres an hour minimum. So obviously we're going to be up around the £6.50 an hour run cost. It's cheaper to service a truck. The service intervals are a lot less than obviously they are on the diesel trucks. Our order intake now at Bauman is in the mid 80% for electric against the 15% diesel. There's other technologies out there, obviously hydrogen fuel cell, but for the next 5-10 years, Bauman believe that electric's the future.
This is the well or the deck of a side loader. This is where the mast is located, in the centre of the whole truck. The mast traverses out, it comes all the way across. It will extend it outwards and pick up a long load at its centre point, the safest point, and bring it back on, place it onto the deck. Once the load is on the deck, the operator has got a clear view ahead of him. He can drive forwards, he's raised up slightly so he can see better anyway, and the load is secure here in place. There's no danger of it tipping off. In fact, this truck has got auto deck leveling, which maintains the level position of the bed even over uneven ground.
So one thing you'll notice about a Bauman machine is how far we retract our mast back into the chassis. You'll see that you've got visibility here, so I can see through my rear cabin window and see the corner of the deck, whereas a lot of our competitors' machines, the mast is in this position, so it's very difficult to see. So with the mast retracted as you get with our Bauman, we've got excellent visibility in this corner for when we're reversing and backing towards a load, because in a lot of applications you will back and swing the truck into the load, so it's very visible to see your back corner for positioning of the truck. So one of the things that people say when they first operate a side loader is, well, I'm going to be twisted all day and looking, and I'm going to get strain here. When you're sat in the cabin, it's a natural thing for you to twist your torso, and you can see the visibility here, but you're only actually doing that when you're picking the load. And when you pick the load and place it to the deck, you then in a natural position for driving with clear visibility looking forward, which is a much safer way of handling. So if you were to pick a long load in front of you, as you've probably seen many pictures of a counterbalance truck, the load is going to obstruct your view, so you're going to start contravening health and safety by either lifting that load in the air, which is unsafe, or the proper way to handle it in the safest possible way with a counterbalance truck is to travel in reverse. So you're actually driving in that position. Whereas with the side loader, the load's safe, secure on the deck at the side of you, you're travelling in a very normal position, safely forward with clear visibility. So you're only twisted to the side to look sideways when you're handling the load, either on or off the vehicle, to the floor, etc. When you're travelling and moving the load into a building, you're in the safest and most comfortable position for travelling. A lot of side loaders are fitted, this machine is fitted with a rear view camera, but we can also have carriage mounted cameras and front corner cameras. So again, you can sit on the monitor rather than twisting to look at the side. So once you become more familiar with the operation of a side loader, position of the truck becomes very important and becomes very, very easy once you're used to the format of how to drive these machines. So I can see here, you can see I'm looking at the edge of the chassis of the deck. So I know with my forks fully retracted, that is my reference point for a lorry trailer, etc. As I say, with the Mast fully retracted, I've got a perfect view of the back corner of this truck, which again gives me a reference for the rear of the truck and for the side. So when we're coming up to something parallel, which is what we're trying to do, you've got two great reference points of the chassis. So the truck is very manoeuvrable, has a very tight steering angle. So for a long truck, the truck will turn incredibly tightly up against the load. Where we are today is a multi-shift operation. We have supplied spare batteries with the machines. The trucks are capable of up to 9 hours runtime on a single charge. There will be occasions where a spare battery will be required on longer days, and particularly during the winter and dark months where we're using lights and heaters in during the day. So spare batteries are a benefit to the site and are easily changed by a use of a forklift on this particular site, but can be used with overhead cranes as well. This machine is fitted with a wide carriage fork positioner, driven by a chain. This enables the forks to spread outside the chassis to an external width of 6 meters. It also allows the carriage to be lifted and the forks be brought back to inside the well as a traditional side loader. This allows the truck to handle shorter products and then the long hollow core products which are produced on this site. This allows the load to be put to match the angle of the floor that it's being dropped to or the trailer that it's being loaded to, and protects the product from damage. The 120 volt EGX machine now is proven that it can match performance and shift life of our diesel products. This made this an obvious choice due to the supply of electricity here from when the site was previously an aluminium smelting plant.
All Bauman trucks are fitted with automatic stabilizing system. This system allows to have an horizontal deck even by driving in uneven ground condition. It means that even when you are driving in bad ground condition on stones or with the holes on the ground, the two axle of the load are absorbing automatically all the shocks on the ground and are keeping the deck horizontal, avoiding any falls down of the load. Speaking about safety, it doesn't mean only a safe operation related to the material handling, but also a safe and healthy operation condition for the driver. During the operational day and during the driving, the driver itself is subject to a lot of vibration, to a lot of stress. Every cabin fitted on the Bauman trucks is supported by 4 hydraulic bushes fitted in each corner of the cabin in 2 different directions in order to absorb all the vibration of the cabin. Safety is becoming more and more important in every application, not only in the wood but also in the steel and in all applications, particularly where you are handling long loads, which can be an issue in some specific environment. For this reason, is coming to help you the use of the side loader. With the side loader, you can lift your load and put it on the deck. Once the load is on the deck, you can drive for a long distance without the risk that it fell down. For this reason, we are adding to the conventional platform some load protection fitted on deck side in order to avoid that the load is falling down. One of the other main advantages in comparison with a conventional counterbalance truck is the visibility, which is also a big part of the safety, because you can imagine handling a big load, sometimes 1, 2, 3 meters tall, and lifting in the front of the forks can be a big issue in terms of visibility. With the side loader, depending by the length and by the height of the loads, once the load is put on the deck, the driver has a full visibility in front of him, and he can drive in full safety condition. In addition to the safety related to the positioning of the load, for very specific loads, Bauman is offering also additional cameras to be fitted, for example, in the corner of the trucks or in the backs of the trucks. We are visiting today company Celsa, the main and biggest steel profile workshop in Europe. Barcelona is the headquarters of Celsa, but they have also other subsidiaries and factories around Europe, and particularly in UK, where they produce smaller profile. Company Celsa is the only steel workshop in Europe manufacturing steel profile, handling up to 15-ton capacity and using only side loader for handling their material. They have organized the logistic for the handling using side loader only. Bauman is a partner of Celsa for over 10 years, and we are delivering truck in the capacity between 12 and 15 ton. And they are driving and working on 3 shifts. Bauman is one of the main suppliers of company Celsa, providing 7 trucks in the last 5 years. The Bauman heavy-duty capacity trucks have been developed particularly for heavy steel application. Every truck is equipped with particular reinforcement and protection in the most sensitive parts of the trucks, where the truck is stressed. It's reinforced with bigger thickness and by using over-dimensioned parts. Company Celsa is the biggest steel company in Europe who are using only side loader for handling this capacity and this quantity. In this specific application, trucks are driving day and night, 24 hours on 24 hours. The material is stored either on the ground or using high cantilever up to 6.5 meter high. This is a particular use because this kind of capacity is not usually stored up to this level. Bauman is providing in the past the GS100, and the last 4 trucks have been GS150 with a capacity of 15 ton up to 4.5 meter and 12 ton at 6.5 meter high. With the Bauman truck equipped and customized according with the requirement of the customer, with special protection welded by side, on the wheel, on the cabin, and a special lighting system for driving even in the night.
I'm Klaus Bierbaum. I am the managing director of company Baumann since 2003. There is no better way to handle long goods than a side loader. Long or bulky goods. This is where you can use best the side loaders. I believe the first question a customer who doesn't know the concept of side loader is who is behind the product, who is the manufacturer of that product, because it is a niche market, it is a small market, so it's a question of trust. If you're speaking about counterbalance truck, everybody knows a lot of manufacturers. With the side loaders, the manufacturers are less known as it is a niche market. So it is more related to a trust issue than what the truck it is by themselves. It is a very interesting company we are working for, as it is so international, as the truck is so specific, that we have a niche market, that we are unique, that we can speak about the product and the service, and not just another one. No, we are unique and we are special, and we are very good in doing that, and it's a pleasure to do that all over the world. So there is no limit of country, there is no limit of application. Yeah.